What's good? What's good? What's good? Thank you guys for joining us on this Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, depending on where you're at. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. What's up? We got Boots in the house again.
Boots.
What's up? What's happening, Boots? Interesting week, Cleveland. Some things is we got some big news, we got some strange news, and your Lakers lose again. Or no, let me take that back. Your Lakers, they did beat Milwaukee, huh?
Thank you.
They
Without
did
the
beat
king,
Milwaukee. I had wrote that down as a loss because Dave likes to come and burn down the
he
crypto center.
certainly does. He usually is coming like a dungeon dragon. Not so much this time.
I had wrote that one off. So kudos to those guys. I think the story of the week so far of the NBA, at least up until Sunday, has been the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. And I want to know. I like to ask you this question just to see how off base you are. Do you believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers? Without
Sorry.
without and you can't blame Donovan Mitchell. You can't blame Spider Mitchell because he was on the bench, and Mobley was on the bench, and the Cavaliers beat the Boston Celtics, who's everybody already anointed as the Eastern Conference favorites, right? And they turn around the next night and beat the Timberwolves. Levon, tell me why you don't believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Because I think that once the calendar changes and we get to the playoffs, this team is going to wilt.
Once the calendar changed, it's the middle of March already.
Yeah, but once it gets to be the playoffs and it gets to be, that second round, I think the way that you should be asking the question is, can they get past the second round? And my answer to that question would still be no. Great team. Love what they're doing. They're playing together. They're playing for each other, and that's great. They're racking up a lot of wins. The third best team in the Eastern Conference right now. And
So correct that. Correct that. They're the fourth best team in NBA.
excuse me, the fourth
with
best.
With your Lakers win, that makes them the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference.
Excuse me.
Because Milwaukee drops.
Right. So that's wonderful. That's great, but I think once the second round starts, we'll find out who they really truly actually are, and not championship contenders, unfortunately.
So without Mobley, without Donovan Mitchell, 2 of their top 5 players, right? 2 of players out of their starting 5. So they have 40% of their starting 5 is on the bench, and they're able to knock off the Boston Celtics and then the Minnesota Timberwolves, and you're still not impressed.
No, those were impressive victories during the regular season, and it shows that their team has a lot of depth. And during the regular season, depth is important. But I think that once the playoffs start, we're going to see who the Cavaliers, truly are.
What does this say about the Timberwolves? The Timberwolves have the big win. It was back-to-back games. They have the big win with your boy against the Pacers. Anthony Edwards goes up and makes a spectacular block on Thursday night, and then Friday night they come back and lose he scored 44 points against the Pacers. And then against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think he scored 2 points in the fourth quarter in overtime. What does that say about the Minnesota Timberwolves to you?
That they have a budding superstar in Anthony Edwards. They're still not quite sure how to fill the hole, missing since, Karl Anthony Towns is out.
Stop it. You're saying now he's a factor?
He's their second best player. Yeah, he's a factor.
So without Karl Anthony Towns, they're out in the first round, according to Cleveland. According to the guy who
first round is going to be difficult.
The self-proclaimed all-knower, all things sports says without Karl Anthony Towns, the Minnesota Timberwolves go out in the first round.
I'm not saying necessarily the first round, Cam. It really depends on the team. Right now, we're not sure where they're going to be. If they fall to 3 or 4, yeah, it could be a first round out. It already could have been a first round out, even with a healthy Karl Anthony Towns. But yeah, it's looking much more in dire straits without him.
My goodness gracious! I didn't see him being a determining factor of their playoff success. I'll have you that. If he won a game or two in the playoffs, that would have surprised the heck out of me. Currently, they're in the second seed, tied with Denver. The Clippers are a game out of that. The Clippers have a game here in about 45 minutes, believe it or not, um, against those Milwaukee Bucks. So hopefully, Milwaukee had a nice time, you know, enjoying the restaurants and sceneries and the thing.
Oh, you're hoping
Los Angeles.
they got the full extent of the LA nightlife before they play your Clippers at 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, this is a
All right, Cam.
this is a you know, now that a tour dome is coming into play, now these teams will have another Milwaukee Bucks. They'll have two full nights in LA, being that they play the Clippers first thing in the morning here. It's kind of a night and a half, right? And when the Intuit Dome comes, this game will be pushed back to 6:30, 7:30 again. So the Bucks, the visiting team, will have two full nights. So I think now all the NBA is excited about the two Intuit Dome. Now that I think about it, because they don't have to, they'll get to those visiting team will get to extend their stay in Los Angeles. What's your thoughts on that, Cleveland?
I don't see how it makes much of a difference. I mean, it could have been
playing at 12:30 versus 7:30. You don't think how that makes a difference?
They could have been playing both the games in the Crip House. I mean, it just
Cleveland. No, you see, you're not fully understanding it. Maybe this is because you haven't did a 11 a.m. press pregame press conference at the stadium. 11:30, dog. 11:30, you have to be there if you want to talk to the coach today. 11:30. The game is at 12:30 this afternoon. Cleveland, the games typically that you woke up today and you joined the show, right? We appreciate you. Let's give Cleveland a hand for waking up early to join the show. How different is this joining the show, Cleveland, at 10 a.m. versus 7 p.m.?
Well, Cam, let's also not forget you had to throw your clock forward, right? So that's messing up their body chemistry.
It tripped me out for a minute. Yeah, spring forward, fall back. I was like, my clock on the stove was reading 9 o'clock. I'm like, how come my phone is reading 10? How come my computer is reading 10? I'm like, what happened? Again, even more of a story. So they're an hour in advance. But Cleveland, you tell me, how is it doing the show? Is there a difference in doing the show at 10 a.m. versus 7 p.m.? You tell me.
Certainly is, Cam. It's a different mindset. You got to get up and do things a little bit differently. Get a little bit out of your routine, and for that reason, in and of itself, the Clippers should have no excuses or explanations if they lose this game.
No, well, they don't play. See, this is where you're wrong. This is what I'm trying to help you understand, Cleveland. They never play well in those games. They rarely play what they did. They did play.
Oh man, are you already trying to bake in an excuse for when you lose this game? Come on now.
I'm telling you, they don't play well in these games.
You just said Damian Giannis was out doing way too much last night. Plus, they lost an hour. Plus, they already had to deal with the Lakers.
But they had time. I said I was hoping that Damian Giannis went out and enjoyed a good dinner last night with some festivities. That's what I said. I was hoping that.
Right.
But because they've been in LA a couple nights, maybe they got it in Thursday night, Friday night, and then they kind of rested Saturday, knowing that they had an early start on Sunday. Who knows? But the Clippers typically, if you look at the record, I don't have the stats to go with it, but if you typically look at the records, they don't do well in these early morning games. They really don't. They truly don't. If you recall, Luka's emergence into the NBA, I mean, he gave the Clippers a 50-point triple-double a couple years ago in one of these early games. And so the early games is a challenge, man. Again, changing your routine, you just have to sit down and get behind the mic. Imagine you have to do your stretching, get your warm-ups in, get to the gym early. Dog, if you don't go to the gym, all of a sudden on Monday, they say, Cleveland, we want you in the office at 5:30 a.m. That's going to be a much different routine. You're going to be in much different headspace than they say, Cleveland, tune into Zoom at 11 a.m., right?
Very true. Very true.
So that's all the point I'm making. That's what I want you to understand. That's why I want you to understand that there's a difference in that game. So, but they do have a good game coming up, and you'll get to see the Clippers and the Bucks here in about 45 minutes. So that was kind of the big story of the NBA. The clip. Go ahead and talk about your Bucks and without LeBron James, or excuse me, talk about your Lakers without LeBron James, able to put it on Milwaukee and D'Lo, who you guys have been trying to trade, Snitchy Russell. You guys have been trying to trade him since you got him. And you thought if we re-sign him, we'll make this is a tradable contract. You guys have been trying to trade him all during the all off season since you signed him, and all during the season too. But he goes ahead and put up 40 for you guys. I mean, is he comfortable? Should he get comfortable? Can he get comfortable? Can he put that down payment on the house, or should he still be renting? You tell me.
Kudos to the point guard of the Los Angeles Lakers for coming out and making a statement. Certainly, nobody saw that coming.
He won't even mention his name. So I guess
nobody saw that.
You keep that realtor. Don't call that realtor quite yet, D'Lo.
Certainly, no one saw that coming. 44 points, taking out the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's great. I mean, should he be comfortable? No, not quite so much.
Wow. Oh, that's great. You hear this vote of confidence or lack of confidence that he said, "Oh, that's great," and he wouldn't even mention the kid's name. So I think that tells you guys where he stands with old Snitchy. He wouldn't even mention the kid's name. Use a cold one, man. Use a cold one. How does somebody even get out of your doghouse? You put up 44 points and wins a game that you had penciled that in. You probably didn't even watch the game Thursday night?
I did watch that game.
You penciled it in as a loss, and then he goes out and puts on that type of performance, and then you won't even mention his name on the next show. What does he have to do?
Cam, the Lakers point guard played extremely well. Okay, not taking anything away from the young man, nothing at all. And we needed every one of those points to win. We won by one, so we needed every single one of those. So his contribution was huge. A heroic effort,
but not name worthy. That's what I'm hearing. Not worthy of having his name announced. Boy, I tell you Laker fans, boy, I tell you what. Cleveland in Saudi Arabia, Friday night. We have Friday night fights back in action. Anthony Joshua took on Francis Ngannou. Before that was in the main event. Before that, we had Joseph Parker, the guy who beat in Cleveland. So let me break this down to Cleveland because I know he didn't tune into any of this and probably didn't even know it was on. I mean, thanks for at least you mentioned half his name. Cleveland won't even mention his name at all. But Cleveland, I know. Go ahead and admit it. You're a casual boxer. As a casual boxing fan, you represent the casual boxing fans on this show. Because I know. Did you even know Anthony Joshua was fighting on Friday night?
I didn't know he was fighting, but I did see the results of the fight.
Well, okay, that doesn't count. Did you, Joseph Parker, the guy who beat my man Deontay Wilder on Christmas? I think it was Christmas Day or right that Christmas holiday. He fought the Japanese Titan, Zili Zhang. I've heard a lot about the kid. This was my first time actually seeing him fight. Big dude, out of shape. Joseph Parker. I mean, Joseph Parker beat Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder had 2 years of inactivity. Deontay Wilder wasn't throwing any punches, and Joseph Parker was a more active fighter in that fight. Zhang was able to knock Parker down, I think in the second or third round. But then after he knocked him down, I think he knocked him down twice, once in the seventh round as well. But the seventh round was kind of a fluky knockout. It really wasn't a connect. The better knockout was in the third round. But after that, he really didn't do a whole lot. He had those two haymakers that he landed, but Parker just more consistent, and he wasn't wildly active. He was just more active than his competition, and just kind of outpointed Zhang. It went to the decision. Now Parker has some full interim championship belt. WBK. I never heard of the damn belt that they gave Parker. But it's a full belt nonetheless. But that fight told me. I mean, what a is it weird? Is it depressing? Is it it, what a weird depressed state heavyweight boxing is and has been. I mean, that really capitalizes that. When they gave this kid the full belt, again, WBQ, I don't know what the name of the damn belt was, but they gave it to him belt. What a depressing state. That showed me what a depressing state heavyweight boxing has been. And then when we get Anthony Joshua fighting Francis Ngannou, who we know Ngannou is, although he whooped up on Tyson Fury, and they couldn't give him a win on that one because there's too much money involved with him potentially fighting Anthony Joshua. They couldn't ruin that belt or ruin that opportunity. I mean, Francis, I like you. In fact, it was funny. Real quick story, fans. I got a chance to interview Francis Ngannou. Big dude. I didn't know who he was. I truly did not know who he was. And they're talking about the UFC heavyweight champion. Do you want to interview him? I was like, I'm right now, UFC heavyweight champion. The only guy I could think of was Daniel Cormier. And then I knew this wasn't Daniel Cormier. I didn't know who it was. So I was like, Francis, you're gonna have to explain who you are to me because I don't know. I watch UFC. He said, you haven't heard of me? I said, nah, dog. He said, how about if I knock you out right here? You probably remember me then. I was like, I mean, you what again? There's a rope between. I was like, you could try it, but there's a lot of people watching you right now, Francis. I don't know if you want to do that. There's a lot of people watching you right now. But it was a little funny interaction. I got a chance to interview him. He's a cool dude. He told me about his upbringing. Educated guy. He didn't grow up boxing. He grew up he grew up in the books. His thing was he needed to get good grades to play any sport. And when he excuse me, and his it wasn't until he had graduated school that he was getting picked on, and he finally had to defend himself. And he's like, "Oh, I like this. I like beat people up." When he had to defend himself for being called a nerd and book smart and all the stuff that came with that, he had to defend himself. Then so he's like, "Oh, I like this. Let me get into professional to sports and so or professional fighting." And so that's kind of how it started. So it was a really cool interview. You could check that out. You have to do a little digging, but Francis Ngannou with Voice of the Fans on YouTube. But I say, come on, Tyson Fury. We know Tyson Fury didn't take him seriously. He came in fat and out of shape. Ngannou, who stays in good shape, but he's a UFC fighter. He's not a boxer, and you can't really, for the most part, you don't play boxing. Number one, and then number two is it takes some progression. Like a UFC fighter can't jump into the ring with the decorated heavyweight champion. He shouldn't be able to jump into the ring with a decorated heavyweight champion and then pull that victory off or looked halfway decent. Which again, because Tyson Fury didn't take him seriously, Ngannou was able to look halfway decent, and many people say he actually won that fight. So him going into the ring with the focused Anthony Joshua, I'm still not. Although Anthony Joshua fought one of the most memorable fights that I've seen in my lifetime. Against and what's the brother's name? Klitschko. When Anthony Joshua dropped Klitschko, Klitschko came back to drop Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua gets up, goes to drop Klitschko again, but couldn't finish the job. Then Klitschko came in and finished him off. Anthony Joshua came back and knocked him out. That was do you remember that fight? As a casual boxing fan, do you remember Anthony Joshua versus the Klitschko brother?
I do not, man. And the mere fact that you're saying this is one of the most exciting fights you've ever seen is just super crazy to me. That I missed that one. I was still kind of reeling from your Ngannou story where the nerd all of a sudden had to throw a punch and got a thirst for the a taste for the blood and had to say, well, this is what I want to do. Now I'm a tough guy. That's a weird transition from I just want to get my calculus homework into I want to rough people up, man, put them in submission holes. That's wild.
It's thrust upon you. Sometimes what did they say? Your
true calling. I mean,
your
suddenly
true calling comes is just thrusted upon you, and then
no.
for him to stand up for himself, that's again, it was a great story. Again, check out the video on YouTube, or quick interview. It's probably 2 or 3 minutes long. You might have to do some digging for it though.
Yeah. But now you got wanting to go back and see this Joshua.
You better go. If Cleavon, you better go see it. I promise you, you won't be disappointed if you go back and watch Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko. Probably, it might be. I'm overlooking a couple of fights. I know I am overlooking a couple of fights or a couple of rounds. So it was the round with Tommy Hearns and Hitman Hearns and Marvelous
I know you're not going to go there.
That third round.
I was just thinking.
No, listen. You remember the third round, right? They had a special. Was it the third round? I think it was special where they just let it all go. They thought the fight. Both of them thought they were going to knock each other out in the third round, so they just stepped on the gas and gave it all they had. It wasn't like that round. It wasn't like that specific round because two of the guys they got knocked down twice. Both of them got knocked down twice, and it's like Klitschko was a champion at the time, so it's like who's gonna be able to last this fight in that one round with Hagler, Marvelous Hagler, Hitman Hearns. Like they just gave it all they can. I mean, there was no bars. They're 60 pounds, just throwing haymakers at each other. They're trying to finish each other off. In this heavyweight fight, heavyweight, is more. There's more in a heavyweight fight, and so Klitschko against Joshua, dude, it was knockdowns. Like he's not getting up. Then he gets up. Then he knocks Klitschko down. Klitschko, he can't get up for this. Then he gets up and knocks Klitschko out again, or knocks him down again. Then Klitschko come back and knock him down again. It's like both of these guys were just digging deep as they had. And that's why I've been so disappointed with Joshua throughout since seeing that fight to this point in his career. Like, how do you go into a fight with Andy Ruiz and get knocked out by Andy Ruiz? Like,
he's spotty. That's why, because he's not really.
That's not supposed to happen. If you see the fight, you see everything. Go. I promise you, Cleveland, you won't disappoint you fans. You guys won't be disappointed. And Cleveland, I need a report for you. The fans want to report from you on your thoughts of Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko next week on the show.
Done.
Fans, you guys won't be disappointed if you go watch this fight.
Done. We'll do
when
it.
You see that type of willingness to come back, that intestinal fortitude, that mindset. This is Andy Reid, Andy Reid. I like Andy. Andy's another cool dude, another cool interview. I told him, do not stop mentioning Snickers until they send you a pallet of Snickers. Do not mention Snickers ever again. I told him that. Don't mention Snickers until they send you a pallet. When they send you a pallet, okay, then it's cool. You guys are on the board. But because in every pre-fight, he's talking about, I eat me a couple Snickers before I get in the round. Dude, shut up with this. I like the story, but you're giving Snickers too much pup. You became the heavyweight champion. They should have had 2 pallets outside your house. But Andy Reid's not supposed to be able to knock out. Andy Reid's not supposed to be able to knock out Anthony Joshua. That's not supposed to happen. And I can't even give Joshua credit for coming back and beating Andy Ruiz, because Andy Ruiz now he becomes the heavyweight champion. He gets to walk around for 9 months with the championship belt on him. Now he's at every taco stand in Los Angeles, just living it up, buying drinks, buying new cars. He's a heavyweight champion. He's living a life. This is never supposed to happen to him. He becomes the first Mexican American champion ever in history, and everybody is throwing everything at him. You know what I'm saying? So when he gets back in the ring, he's 20 pounds heavier than he was when he fought him the first time. He's done lost all. I don't want to say lost all focus, but he lost a lot of focus. So now you beating up this guy who you shouldn't have lost to in the first place. I can't give you no credit for that, because Andy Reid wasn't focused. Andy Ruiz wasn't focused in. Shame on him for not being focused, but he wasn't focused. And I understand why. This wasn't Cleveland. He goes from
He did
literal
the Buster Douglas thing. I mean, Buster Douglas did the exact same thing when he knocked out Mike Tyson in Tokyo. Wow. I mean, this was never ever supposed to happen.
Come on. Did you just compare Anthony Joshua to Mr.
No,
Mike
I
Tyson?
just compared
Did you
Ruiz and
just
how he
compare?
handled his success to how Buster Douglas handled his success. It was out of the blue. He wasn't expecting it, and it was much more than he ever anticipated. And wow, when you're living the life of a heavyweight champion, that's a way different lifestyle, and you weren't really expecting it.
So
Yeah.
again,
You're not thinking into the future. You're not thinking like, wow, let me parlay this into like, a historic Hall of Fame career. You're thinking like, wow, I hit the lottery that one time.
Boots, have you seen the fight I'm talking about? Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko. Have you seen that fight, Boots? Because yeah, that Hagler Hearns. I mean, again, that was probably the best literal round of boxing in the boxing history. But I might have to come back to you guys on the best fight of history. But I know that was Anthony Joshua's best fight ever when he fought the Klitschko's, and they both came back from a comeback. Cleveland, you're gonna have to go watch that fight. Give the fans a report. Pull it up on YouTube. I'm sure you can do it this afternoon. I might do it just to refresh my memory because it was that. It was what you want to see in boxing. Is what you want to see in boxing. So that was I can't. I'm saying for him knocking out Francis Ngannou, he did what he was supposed to do. Ngannou came in there. Again, UFC wrestler, has a little bit of confidence. Oh, Boots. You got it. Again, go YouTube, bro. Go YouTube. You will not.
We'll get the assessment together, Boots. We'll do it. We'll do it on Wednesday.
You will not be disappointed. I promise you. Anybody who looks up that fight will not be disappointed. I put my word on sports on it. I promise you guys. And if you come back and say you were disappointed with the fight, you're just not a boxing. You're just not you have no sports fanaticism in you, period. And I'm gonna turn it around and say that. But I'll put my word on boxing on sports on it. Yeah. So against Francis Ngannou, I mean, again, Francis Ngannou, he took Tyson Fury to the limit. A lot of people say he won that fight. They weren't going to give it to you, Francis. Much as a cool dude, you weren't going to win that fight unless Tyson Fury went out the ring and just couldn't get back up. Period. That's the only way you're going to win that fight. But Anthony Joshua, come on, you're the boxer. You're the guy who you got this 10-year career in boxing or 8 or 9 year career in boxing. He went in there and did what he's supposed to do. Francis tried to go left-handed and left his chin open for that right hand coming from Anthony Joshua, and bam, boom. In the first round, he went down. First round he went down. Came back in the second round. He didn't try that southpaw stance again, but he left himself open and just. Anthony Joshua was a specimen, and he's a specimen, bro. They try to put him in the. Eddie Hearns tried to put this kid in the lab like they did Drago in Rocky IV. They try to build him from a lab, but some things in the lab just don't work out as it's supposed to work out. But Joshua has all the tools. He's built like an Adonis. He's a specimen in there. So if he has the right mental attitude, he can do some damage. And he came in there with the right attitude and did some. And got rid of Ngannou in 2 rounds. Got rid of him in 2 rounds. The first knockdown was a good connection. The second knockdown was just as good as connection. And the third knockdown, which finished the fight, was just an explosive right hand to the jaw that just dropped him, period. He was out immediately. Fell back and legs bent all over. Ngannou was out. Looked like Ngannou shouldn't fight again. And he probably shouldn't box. He shouldn't box again.
Yeah, Cam, that sounded like a lot of ifs with regards to Anthony Joshua. If he's focused, if he's,
it is. Go watch that fight, and you see why I am particularly so hard on Anthony Joshua. When you see his fight about Klitschko, that is the attitude, that's the mentality, that's what you're supposed to come into the ring with every single fight,
which he does not. Which is why we don't talk about it.
Remember, Klitschko at the time, Klitschko was on like a 22-0 record. Another guy literally built in Russia, like Drago was. who a lot of people thought was unbeatable, and Joshua put it on him. Joshua, bro, go watch that fight, man. If you guys have not seen that fight, please go watch that fight. Okay, and you understand why I particularly am so hard on Anthony Joshua. And when he let Andy Ruiz, I like Andy Ruiz, cool interview. As much when you let Andy Ruiz knock you out, it should have been Joshua and Deontay Wilder back. They shouldn't have been an Andy Ruiz too. There shouldn't have been Joshua Ruiz too. It should have been Joshua and Deontay Wilder, and we'd have been like, wow, who does can Wilder get out of here? Can Wilder get out of here safely? It would have been a big question mark at that time. When Joshua fought Ruiz for the second time, it would have been a huge question mark going into that fight. But he wasn't, like you said, a lot of ifs. So. Cleveland, wild story coming out of KC this week. Well, I mean, KC, since they won a Super Bowl, man, there's some tragic news. Obviously, the gun laws. I'm not even gonna get into the gun laws in KC. Open carry. Wow. But the radio reporter, radio personality got shot and killed by the teenager who says, it was just being stupid. The police asked him why did he do it. He's like, man, I was just being stupid. I shouldn't have done it. I regret it. I was just being stupid. I thought somebody said they were gonna. I bumped into somebody, and I heard them say they were gonna get me. Somebody said I'm gonna get you. I thought they were saying I'm gonna kill you, so I pulled out my gun first and just start shooting. Come on, man. And then obviously you got people scared to now to go to parades and what have you. But then Cleveland, the reports this week is, if you remember when they played the Dolphins, it was Arctic weather that they were playing in. And you got Chiefs fans who suffered a lot of frostbite. Many fans suffered frostbite during the Dolphins game. And then some fans, Cleveland, are now even facing amputation from sitting out in that cold weather. I got two questions for you. Two questions. When these fans take their ass home? That's the first. That's question number one. If you realize it's getting a little cold, you can't feel your toes, you can't feel your fingers. Now you can't feel your calves or your knees. You take your ass home. I don't care. I don't care who's on the field, unless you were Taylor Swift, but she's in a box. She can't bundle up anyway with heat. I don't. Hey, bro. Kelsey, my cousin Kelsey's on the field. Yo, Kelsey, I'll see you after the game. How about that, bro? Come by the house. We'll come by the house and we'll have a little barbecue. We'll have a few drinks and we'll celebrate after the game. I'm not sitting in this Arctic weather. I'm not dealing with. I'm not risking frostbite and amputation for you, bro. I'll see you later. How about that? And so that's number one question, Cleveland. Why didn't they take their ass home?
Cam, the only thing I can think of is maybe the frostbite also got to the brain a little bit as well, and they just, they couldn't figure out, what exactly to do. That their body temperature had gotten so low that it, interrupted, brain functionality, and they couldn't do the rational thing and just get up and leave. I mean, or in addition, they paid thousands of dollars for those seats. In addition, they're part of Chiefs Kingdom. So, those things probably factored in a little bit, and, maybe a little bit of their masculinity was tested, and, they just figured they were just going to, tough it out, rough it out. Myself personally, that's kind of why in my senior year, I stopped going to,
I hope those guys with no shirts are the ones we're talking about. I hope they're the ones facing amputation.
And I mean, Cam, they do it in Lambeau. They do it in Lambeau Field. They do it in Soldier Field. They do it in Buffalo.
You can do all that you want, and I hope you lose a limb. I hope you get frostbite, and I hope you lose a finger or some toes because you're being ridiculous.
Come on now, you can't wish bad things on them just because they're not
because
necessarily
they're being stupid. Because they're being stupid. That's like these guys. I know you've seen videos of these guys doing their donuts and in the streets of wherever, mainstream media, or excuse me, inner city United States. They go out there and they do the block out, and now their cars are coming doing donuts and the Chargers and the old school car. And then you got some fool hanging out the window, sitting on the door, hanging out the window, yeah, trying to do selfies, and then dude slams on the brakes and he goes flying out the car. Like, you deserve that. You deserve that, right? This is the same way these guys going out in this Arctic weather, it's 18 below, and you come out here in shorts and a t-shirt talking about I'm good, and you got flip-flops on, and then you had the nerve to take off your shirt in the game. Yeah, you deserve to lose a limb, bro. I'm sorry. That wasn't because they sat out there in the Arctic weather and the cold had seeped into their minds. That wasn't it, Cleveland. They left the house like this, Cleveland. You seen those guys. Stop it. You live in Seattle. I know you seen these fools go to the grocery store and it is raining. It's been raining for 3 days, and they go to the grocery store in flip-flop shorts and a tank top. Oh, I'm good. I'm just running in and running out. Yeah, okay. Okay. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Cleveland. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can come on.
I mean, Cam, at least put the Helly Hansen on if you're gonna get out there in the Arctic like that. At least give me a North Face and a beanie. Don't just go all skin exposed. Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, yeah, you got to be bundled. You got to be prepared for that. We're talking about KC. I mean, some of these guys are. They deal with this weather every single year. So we know they got a closet full of thick coats and hats and shoes and their work boots and the ducks that we used to wear back in the days. We know they got gear for this, right? Some of these guys are hunters who sit out in the trees and the bushes and for days at a time, right? Looking for their right shot so they can kill the deer that has nothing to do with what they're doing, not even thinking about them. But so they're prepared for certain moments. If you don't bring that to the game, man, come on, that's on you, man. That's on you, Cleveland. So that's my first question. And why didn't these guys take their ass home? And then, secondly, do you think you mentioned Buffalo has the same situation? Pittsburgh has the same situation. Lambeau Field is the same. They built a dome in Detroit, so they don't have to deal with it. They built a dome in Minnesota, so they don't have to deal with it. Is this an NFL concern? Should the NFL be mindful of how they're scheduling these games and the temperatures that the fans are having to deal with?
How can they be mindful of how they schedule a playoff game? There's absolutely no way to do that. I mean, I believe the owners should be mindful of what their fans are going through and why they think this is a baked in advantage that they need to.
So you think the Chiefs would have had the same opportunity to beat the Dolphins in that playoff games if they were in the dome? If they were playing in the Arrowhead Dome versus South Florida, you think the Chiefs would have been the same kind of game? Is that what you're telling me?
What I'm saying, Cam, is that those adverse weather conditions should not be a factor with regards to whether or not you build a dome for your fans. They should definitely build a dome for their fans.
You think they should definitely build a dome? I kind of think that's their home field advantage to come and have to for KC and anybody opposing KC, like the Miami Dolphins, who has again, we know the temperature is a little different in South Florida. So now they go from South Florida to KC in January. KC could put 10 points on the board right now. So at kickoff, it's 10-0. Dolphins, what are you guys going to do? Because of the temperature, the weather difference. Going to Buffalo.
I disagree as that being a motivation for why you don't do that. I totally disagree.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of think that's a home field advantage. So the Seahawks should have a dome, is what you're telling me? They should go back to playing the Kingdom?
It's never going to be -20 in Seattle.
No, but it's wet and nasty. It could be 20 degrees wet and nasty.
It's partially
Isn't
covered.
that an advantage for the Seahawks?
It's partially covered.
Partially covered. Is that an advantage for the Seahawks on the field? I don't think there's any coverage on the field, if my memory serves me correct. It's still going to be 25 and wet, and it's not. Fans, if you haven't been to the Northwest, let me explain this to you. It's that drizzle. It's that constant drizzle where you can't even set your windshield wipers all the way on because it's not raining that hard. It's just you got to put it on like 2 to where it wipes, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and wipe again because it's just a consistent drizzle. Like in Florida, it rains. In Florida, that's rain.
We only go to the one very, very rarely fans, and if so, it's like, man, it's really raining out here.
Right, that's what I'm
as
telling
opposed
you.
to just the daily, just
in Florida,
that's every day.
On the East Coast, down south, it rains. In Seattle, it's just a consistent like that, just the peck. That just gets annoying. It's annoying. It's annoying. Is it gonna rain or not? That's why I used to ask. If it's not gonna rain, just be wet. Just be wet, okay? Or open up. Let it be a thunderstorm. That's fine. If it's gonna rain, let it be a thunderstorm. Now we know what we're dealing with. But it's just that the consistent just drip. You know when you hear your water fountain or your sink in the bathroom or the kitchen, just continue to just drip. That's what that rain's like in Seattle. It's just a consistent drizzle, so it's just consistently wet. And that wetness with 25 degrees on a January day, that's not comfortable. Cleveland says, "Oh, it's partially covered." Come on, Cleveland, stop it. Stop it. You better have your North Face on. You better have some rain gear on. You better have a water repellent hood, because you're going to be wet. You're going to be soaked by the time in 2.5 hours of sitting out there and that stuff. And again, I mentioned I don't think the field is covered at all. So that is a home field advantage when a team from Los Angeles comes up there and they have to deal with that. And again, most places it rains or it doesn't. In Seattle, so I think that's a home field advantage. So I disagree with you that the owners shouldn't be cognizant of what that advantage is. I can say in Minnesota, that should have been open arena. I understand why you don't want fans. It's more comfortable, obviously, to be indoors. Sure, I get it. But that is your home field advantage. That's KC's home field advantage. That's Lambeau's home field advantage. The weather, the snow, the fans, the crowd, the outdoors. That's their advantage. Play to your advantage. You don't like sitting out in the rain. That's what Cleveland is telling me right there. He don't like sitting out in the rain, fans. So when he goes to Seahawks game, it must be a club seat where you can stand indoors. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a club seat until after November, but after November, yeah, man, let's bring it inside.
Yeah, I think but to come back to the Chiefs story, man, I think I don't think this is an NFL concern. I think come on, fans, you just got to be smart. You got to be smart. You got to dress appropriately. You know what you're going into. You got a weather report. You get the weather report 24 hours before the game. You know there's a game on Sunday. The weather report's telling you Saturday, and tomorrow's KC game is going to be 17 below. You better dress prepared. It's going to be windy. It's going to be snowing. We have a 70% chance of snow, ice storm. Listen to the weather. That's all you have to do. Listen to the weather and dress accordingly. Speaking of weather, man, it was 72 the other day, 65 yesterday, and it's going to be like 55 today. Like here in Bama, where you get all
10 degrees less every day. That's got to be rough. That's kind of a teaser, right?
Man, and then because again, it was 45, 55, then 65, then 75, and then it just come right back on.
Right back. Oh, yeah, that's playing tricks on your mind.
Yeah, man. So Cleveland, talking about playing tricks on the mind. July 20th on Netflix. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. What's your thoughts on this? I got a couple questions, but what's your initial thoughts of this matchup? Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Goes directly to the state of boxing. That this is a thing. You go digging up a 57-year-old man and say, challenge him to get in the ring. Yeah, I think I'll kick your ass. I mean, who does that, man? I mean, why is that even a thing? I mean, why is that even when he wins this fight, what does that really do?
When who wins this fight?
When Jake Paul wins this fight.
Oh, you got Jake Paul winning the fight?
Oh, yeah. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man.
You don't think Mike? So you haven't seen no videos of Mike here recently?
Oh man, really in the gym, hitting the heavy bag really, really hard, man. Is it looking like 86 again, man? Come on, man, cut that out.
Wow, Cleveland, this is the first person I heard. Everybody hoping that Mike knocks
Everybody
Jake Paul,
hoping. There you
like
go. There
that,
you
like
go.
Mike knocks
There
Jake
you go.
Paul out like
There
Glass
you go.
Joe. Like he knocks him out the ring like Glass Joe.
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing. They're still, reminiscing about when he used to just knock people out in the first round, and used to just come in the, in the towel. You'll take the towel off and just get to business of just, Iron Mike just destroying people. That was quite some time ago, Cam.
It was a few years ago, but Mike's not out of shape though. He showed you that he's still quick. He's still got some.
Listen to you, man. This goes to the state of boxing, man. You're trying to talk me up about. We just talked about his Buster Douglas loss. You want to know that was 35 years ago? For crying out loud! What is he doing in the ring with this person? Are you telling me that he's out of money again? Dude is not good with his money. Who is his? Who are his?
Wow, Cleveland's going in on Mike. Cleveland
He gets poor. He gets rich again. He gets poor.
Wait, so you don't think
he gets poor?
You don't think Mike's cannabis endeavor?
That's what I'm saying. So why do you need to do this? Why are you doing this?
Name recognition. What are you talking about? Mike has been out. You said it yourself. It's been 35 years ago since he's been the king of the ring. He wants to show these fools that he still got it. He is the man.
That he still got it. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to be there. I'm trying to be there. I'm trying to be there for the
hoopla. That he still got it.
He's the man. He's the man. He want to show this young dude that you don't run boxing. You think you run boxing? You think you make a few YouTube videos? You knock out Nate Robinson? That you're the guy? Let me get in here and show you what's really going on.
Yeah, and who's Paul? Is he the white Mason the Line Dixon in this scenario, man? Trying to pull Rocky out of retirement, man. Like, wow, what are we doing here, man?
Ooh, Cleveland taking shots at Mike. Hey, Mike, I support you, Mike. I support you, Mike. That ain't me. That's Cleveland over there.
I don't want to see it, Mike. I don't want to see you get in there.
What, Mike? Cleveland, let the people know where they can find you on social media. This is Cleveland, Mike. This ain't me. Let the people know where they can find you.
I'm at Clevie Wonder on TikTok. Cleveland Still on Instagram, and Clevie Wonder on Twitter, man. I don't want to see this happen, but but like I said before, it is a train wreck. So you got to watch, right? You got to watch it, but I don't want to see it happen.
I like Mike. Cleveland over here taking shots at Mike. I like Mike. Everybody hoping that Mike knocks. I told you, knocks dude out the ring.
Everybody hoping, but what are the chances of that, Cam? What are we talking about here?
I mean, Mike says sign the contract. He signed the contract. The date's on July 20th in Jerry World on Netflix. If you can't get to Jerry World, it's gonna be on Netflix. This might be the most watched fight since when, Cleveland? It might
Pacquiao, most likely.
I mean, it might do better numbers than Spence Crawford. This fight here. This might be.
Which goes to the sad state of boxing, as I said previously, because
who don't want to see Mike get in the ring, Cleveland? Who don't want to see Mike get in the ring? So let me ask you this, Cleveland. Let me ask you this, since you're just being so hard on Mike. What athlete, Cleveland, would you like to see come back and play their sport? Like, would you want to see Jim Brown? Obviously, is to say Jim Brown at his peak, but would you like to see Jim Brown in his 1964, the 1964 Jim Brown play in the game today? I mean, I'd like to see what that would look like. I'd like to see what Grant Hill looked like without injuries in his NBA career. Like to see if he could play today. Who's an athlete that you would like to see play?
An athlete I would like to see play. I would
return to play. Maybe T-Mac without the injuries. Would you like to see? Was that the 2000 T-Mac, 2001 01 T-Mac?
I guess the way if we're going at it from that perspective, probably Penny. I would have liked to have seen what Penny could have done to stay healthy. I know that he had his initial rift with Shaq, which as record shows, he has that rift with everyone. But if those two could have stayed together a little bit longer, I would have loved to kind of seen what that could have been.
So that 96 Penny just continues play his 10-year career out without injury.
Yeah, I mean, even I think probably 98 when they moved him to shooting guard and didn't have him have the responsibility of being the point guard all the time. That was tremendous. That was a tremendous season. So I would have liked to have kind of seen the trajectory of what could have been from that perspective.
What about a Warren Moon? Would you like to see Warren Moon come to the Seahawks directly out of college, and then they wouldn't have dealt with the Kelly Stoffers or the Rick Myers and all them cats?
That's an interesting one. I think probably when he came from the Edmonton Eskimos, I think that was a good training for him, kind of like a good kind of without all the pressure of having to be the second or third black quarterback ever to play in the NFL. Kind of taking that 5 years. If he would have instead of going to
you couldn't questioning Warren's capabilities.
No. What I'm saying is that instead of going to Houston after the 5 years in Edmonton, if he would have came to Seattle, I would have loved to see that.
Houston was tough. I mean, Houston was tough though. They were solid.
Good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I was thinking that, but we never did get a chance to even know what that kind of possibly could have been. SB, yeah.
Len Bias, yeah, that would have been great to see.
That would have been great to see.
Although he got drafted by the Boston Celtics, bro. That would have extended Boston. That would have took some championships away from the Lakers. Like, I don't know if the Lakers win 87, 88. I don't know if the Lakers win. It wouldn't have been a walk away.
Yeah, and who knows?
Because he was joining. He was joining. He was joining that Celtics squad with Larry Bird, fresh, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. Like, he was joining that squad. Dennis Johnson on his, on the backside of his career. He was joining that squad. So he would have had, he would have came off the bench, flourishing, right? He was better than Reggie Lewis. Reggie Lewis is another one. He was better than Reggie Lewis, and Reggie Lewis came at the backside of those teams. But he was better than Reggie Lewis, and he would have been. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness gracious! I'm glad they changed up the NBA draft because that was unfair for the Celtics to have the number one pick, and that would have been Len Bias. Seeing what Len Bias would have done with those Celtics squads would have been tremendous. What if Barry didn't retire though? What if Barry, Barry had at least 3 or 4 years in him when he walked away from the Detroit Lions. And not that I would want to see. Everybody was saying at the time, what if Barry played behind the Dallas Cowboys?
That's a favorite one. That's everybody's favorite go.
Yeah, but things would have been different. They probably would have ran a different offense. They probably would have ran a different offense. So I mean, Barry
square ass Barry wouldn't have been able to handle being one of the Cowboys, man. That wouldn't have been a thing, man.
I mean, he would have just been quiet. He just wouldn't have been going to the parties.
Man, those guys were the Miami Hurricanes on steroids, man, with real money in the NFL, man. No.
Yeah, that would have been. I mean, I would have just been cool with Barry just continued his career with the Lions. The one thing I didn't like what they did with the Lions is they got a fullback, and that I think that's messing them up. They should have been running 4 wide and give the ball to Barry. Let Barry go left or right, whatever. Let him pick a hole. Let's start trying to be too creative. Let's just go 4 wide receivers and let Barry go. Hit him a time or two out the backfield on a pass, but other than that, let him pick a hole and let him get after it because that was what he was best at. Bo Jackson, yeah, Bo. Oof.
Bo.
Oof. Yeah, I like to see what Bo can do in today's game.
Or what Bo would have done if he played a full season in the NFL. He was always playing half seasons,
Yeah, Bo. That's another good one. That's be good looking out. They would have ran a different offense. Yeah. He would have ran. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what made that team, the Cowboys team, so dominant. Is they didn't change it up. It was pretty much Emmett left, Emmett right, and then Michael over the middle, or Michael running
Hey,
the deep out.
Novacek, every once in a while, give it to Moose, and every once in a while, go deep to Harper. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that for those few years they just ran they just ran their offense, and if you could stop it, good on you. If you can't stop it, you're getting blown out. So would he ran a different offense? I don't know. You would have to compliment. You would have to kind of adjust something for Barry Sanders. So, come on, Boots. Come on. You have to adjust to your talent. That's what good coaches do. Is they put their players in a situation where they can be successful. And though Barry could have ran that offense, if he could have ran three wide and just open up I say four wide because that opens up your offense now. Now you have to have four cornerbacks. Now you have to have two safeties if you want. And so that thins out the defensive line and allows Barry to pick a hole where he wants to go. They should have did that more. They didn't do enough of that in Detroit. And when they try to give him a fullback, that was even worse. But those are some of the.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking way back, what if they would have given Eric Dickerson the same money they were paying the coach. He would have stayed in LA behind that offensive line. What could have happened?
Well, there was a problem with it. It wasn't the coach. I don't think money was an issue in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, money was an issue.
The issue is they brought in Jim Everett, and Jim Everett wanted to pass the ball. And
no,
that was the issue.
It was a money issue. Once he found out that the coach was making more than him, that was ridiculous.
Again, Jim Everett was a passing quarterback, and he was changing the plays from run plays to passing plays, so he can be in the game. And that's what the problem was. I think that was a rub in for the Rams. And they need that, though they need it to this day. One of Eric Dickerson's best friends is Vince Ferragamo. So who was scared of Vince? who in the NFL was scared of Vince? Let me tell you, Cleveland, nobody. And why was that Dickerson best friend? Because he's going to give the ball to Dickerson. There was no argument there. Turn around and give it to Dickerson, and you can throw the ball 12 times a game. Just keep giving it to Dickerson, and we can. We're going to win or lose the game by giving it to Dickerson. But when they bring in Jim Everett, who now Jim Everett wants to throw 30 times a game, now that's a different mentality there.
Well, how about this one? How about if Marshall Faulk stays in Indy as opposed to going to St. Louis, and they don't get Edgerrin?
I mean, Indy set that up. Indy, that was a good move on Indy. Like, okay, Marshall
to trade the MVP of the league.
Marshall wanted more money.
Oh, so now it's money. Okay,
I'm telling you, that situation was different.
See, before it's not money, but now it's money.
No, I'm in that specific situation with Eric Dickerson. But Indy, I mean, Marshall was excellent. Don't get me wrong, Marshall was fantastic. But now, if you can trade, and this is what we see going on in NFL today, if you can get your 4 years out of a primetime running back, a Hall of Fame running back, and you could trade him and get some compensation for him, and you could draft a guy like Edgerrin James. Edgerrin James made the Hall of Fame, didn't he? I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player in comparison to what Marshall Faulk did. I don't think but he made the Hall of Fame. He made the Hall of Fame because he played on a great team, right? He played with the Peyton Manning. Who was the receiver's name? Do you remember the receiver's name?
Marvin Harrison.
So and he came in there and he did a great job. You can't discount what he did and how he fit for that squad.
Really sounds like you're trying to discount what he was doing.
He wasn't Marshall Faulk. He wasn't Marshall Faulk.
He wasn't going. Whether he's even a Hall of Fame running back.
He wasn't going to the Arizona Cardinals and changing that franchise. He wasn't that type of player. He came in and fit in very well. Kudos to you. Know your role. Play your role. But he wasn't Marshall Faulk. You better cut it out, Cleveland.
Okay.
Oh wow. SB, that's cold. That's cool. Yeah, that's too soon. Because that changes the landscape of the game. That's too soon.
That's too soon.
Fans, been fantastic for you guys to join us. Give yourselves a round of applause. Let's give a shout out to our day ones, our contributors. We got SB, we got the Bootzilla in the house. Thank you guys for tuning in and your input. Give Cleavon a round of applause. Getting up early and have his cup of joe early on a Saturday morning. Even though Cleavon thinks it doesn't matter if he starts at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m., apparently that doesn't really register on his in his day. The changes that the preparation that it takes.
Cam. And if I'm making a 50 mil a year, it's not gonna make no difference, man. Go out and get it.
You guys hear this? You guys hear this? This is something else, man. Now, thank you guys for tuning in.
Nice.
Wish you guys a happy day. Enjoy your Sunday. Go tune in some hoop. Watch. I'm gonna go pull it up right now. Watch Anthony Joshua versus the Klitschko. I don't even remember what year it was. It's 2024. This had to be maybe 10 years ago, 2013, 14, somewhere in there. Watch the fight, fans. Let me know what you think of the fight. Am I putting too much on it? Well, you guys will see us back here Wednesday for a full show. Let me know, am I putting too much on that Joshua Klitschko fight? And that's the reason I've been down on Anthony Joshua. Let me know what you guys think about it. After you watch that fight, you let me know what I think about it. And I can't wait to hear your response on Wednesday. Fan, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, fan, thank you for making our voice your choice.